All right, I want to call this meeting of the Simpson County Fiscal Court to order. I want to ask our maintenance supervisor, Bill Roars, if he would come and open us with prayer, and after that, we'll have the pledge to the flag.
Let us pray together. Father, we thank you so much that we can come before you this morning. We thank you for the day that you have given us, Lord. We thank you for the opportunity we have now to serve the community and serve those around us, Lord, with the business of the county. Father, we pray that we do a good job in everything that we do in this matter. Lord, we thank you for your grace and your mercy and your love for us each and every day. Lord, we ask this morning that you would be with the families of the victims of the shooting in Chicago. Lord, we pray that you would be near to them, and Father, I just pray that you would give wisdom to all the authorities, that there would be some way that some wisdom would be used in how they go after all this, and they try to make it better and a better situation for everybody. Lord, we just thank you. We thank you so much that you love us, and that your grace and your mercy sustains us each and every day when we fail you, and we know that we fail you many times every day. But we're thankful for your grace. Lord, we thank you and we praise you in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on the agenda, if you had an opportunity to review the minutes of our June 21st regular court meeting, we just need a motion and a second to approve those minutes.
So much.
Got a motion by Marty?
Second.
Second by Nate. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, gentlemen, is we have to approve the CPI increase, the additional 2% for the magistrate, coroner, and county attorney. If y'all recall, we vote on this, and we voted on the first three, but then we talked about the additional, but there never was an official vote. So for auditing purposes, we have to have an actual vote and a record in the minutes of that action.
So that'd be a total of 5%.
5, yes.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion by Myron.
Second.
Second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, next, we talked about in our last meeting about the gas bonus, kind of the additional payment, but then the question come up about the part-time, because it was part-time and full-time employees. The question come up that we could have in a given month part-time employees who don't even travel back and forth to work. They may not even drive to, I mean, what I'm saying, they may not work in a month's time. Is that accurate, Nicole? I mean,
yes.
Yeah. So the question would be, do we want to put like some type of stipulation that in that month's time you must at least work 4 days, 6 days, I mean, whatever. Of course, the other question is, this morning at Casey's, gas was $3.91 a gallon. At the Valero across the road, it was $4.09. So, you know, and Murphy's yesterday was $3.99. So, you know, if we're talking $4 and above, how do we determine that? Because right now, I mean, today, and I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but today, you can actually go buy gas somewhere in Franklin for under $4 a gallon.
That was left a little open-ended, I thought, but yeah, I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
the right answer.
I guess you
but
could
yeah.
kind of do that on the average. What is the average price of gas in
That's
Simpson
what I would
County?
suggest.
Simpson County.
And it would still be $4 and above even today, because most of the places are 408 to 409, but you got those couples. So I guess that would be the thing, an average of $4 a gallon. But then the big question is, if you have a part-time employee who does not even travel to work in a given month, I mean, should there be some requirement to how many times you're traveling back and forth to work? Because you got full-time employees that if you've got 4 5-day work weeks, they're traveling back and forth 20 times a month. You could have part-time that doesn't travel at all, or just maybe 2 times a month.
How many employees are we talking about? I know there's a number, or this wouldn't be brought up.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember that number I gave you all. Let me see if I can find it on here, because she gave it to me.
And I'm fine with going ahead and.
The part-times were 31.
31.
Yeah, but
But
sometimes-
I'm talking about, what's the number of the ones that we're talking about that are not driving back and forth?
It varies from month to
Yeah,
month.
part-times are scheduled sporadically, so it's hard to, to tell. You know, we may have some with an hour, 2 hours, 4, we may have some that work, they're filling schedules based on people who are on vacation, and they could
Okay.
work a full 40-hour week.
What if we said any part-time that worked 25 hours in the last month? Would that be all, or do you think it would be 40? I mean, I don't know. We're talking about in a whole month now.
Yeah, in a whole month. So you're talking roughly, it
In 25 hours, that could be like 2 days
yeah.
a month that they're working, because, you got the jail staff who's working 12-hour shifts, so.
Yeah. But I also think when we do this, if this passes today, we put it back on the agenda for the 1st of August. And if gas has dropped even more, then we can just take it back off. But we can do it for this 1 month, and then if it
So
if it
how
drops.
long, I do agree that we gotta have some hours attached to that stipend, but how long does this go on? You know, we did
I
have
just
a
said
lot.
we review it every month.
Yeah, yeah. And the original vote was as long as gas was above $4 a gallon.
If it drops as much this month as it has in the last 2 weeks, then it won't be, we won't vote for it next month. We just do this on a monthly basis.
Yeah, well, I know, we are gonna do Simpson County though, for the, if it's under four,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
because I know it's $4.49 in Bowling Green and it was $3.99 here. So.
Yeah, no, we're going to use
Yeah.
Simpson County as the basis for gas prices.
Well, let's just make it simple and say any part-time works over 30 hours a month.
Are y'all good with that? If you're
Would you say,
part-time
Mark?
and you work 30 or more hours in a month, you'll be subject to the stipend also?
What's the effective date that's gonna go back to?
Well, it just begins July.
Yeah, it just,
No,
if
July.
this
For
passes
this
today,
month.
Yeah, just for the month of July.
if this passes, the way I understand it, if this passes today, they'll all get the stipend
At the end of the month.
at the end of the month, and then August, the first meeting in August,
We'll
we'll
revisit.
review it, and if gas is still above $4, we'll vote for it again. If it's
Sure.
down to $3.75, we won't.
Have we got some part-timers that are working less than 30 hours a week, a month?
Oh, we got some that don't work at all.
month?
I mean, we could have some part-time people that don't work at all. They're just on the rolls, so if need be, they could be called. But yeah, we'll have part-time people that may not even work.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, and I'm not trying to knock them, but I mean, do we want to give them money? They're not even driving back and forth to work, say, in a given month. Are we going to pay someone who's
Yeah.
not even driving back and forth?
And
to
30
work?
hours in a month is not that much.
It's not that many hours. I mean, they'd have to work at least 2 or 3 days or
Right.
something in a month's time to get it, but.
So I'll put that in form of a motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to do this for the month of July to cover all full-time and part-time employees who work at, full-time employees covered, all
Right.
part-time employees who work 30 hours or more in that month, in the month of July.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Who is not
Yeah.
Did you say fair enough or
Yeah,
second?
fair enough.
Okay. And second?
Who is not issued a county on
Yeah,
vehicle.
and still the stipulation, if you're not issued a county-owned vehicle.
And like you said, we'll look at this month by month.
Yeah.
So
All right.
motion and second, or did I? was
Yeah,
that-
Marty made the motion and Myron made the second.
Thank you.
And I'm all about gas dropping below $4 a
I am
gallon.
too.
Me too.
I hope we don't have to vote for this next month.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. The other is, if y'all remember in the budget, we budgeted,
We didn't.
Oh, we didn't vote, I'm
We
sorry.
didn't vote.
I'm sorry. So we have motion by Marty and second by Myron. All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Sorry about that. Thank you, Pam.
Now we can move on.
All right. We budgeted the trucks for Public Works, but we need to authorize the advertising for bids, to get the bids on out because it's taken so long to get these vehicles anyway.
So moved.
Pickup truck, yeah,
Dump truck that was already approved.
right.
Just send it up.
Second.
So a motion by Marty and a second by Nate. Any other question or discussion?
How long Bobby, does it take now to get a pickup truck?
The ones we received week before last, we ordered on August the 17th of 2021.
Oh, my.
We got it on July
Dang near a year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble keeping up.
And down.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, Marty and Nate
And
make
this is for a 20, for one pickup.
one pickup.
2023, okay.
So you won't get that truck till
Till next year.
24, will you? Or 20, well, you maybe not get it 23.
That's why I thought we better go ahead and order one, just to have in the pipeline.
Yeah. All right, so we had a motion by Marty and a second by Nate to authorize for the bid for the Public Works pickup truck. Any other question, discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And then next is, we need a motion and a second to authorize the application for the 80/20 funding for the Kenny Perry Bridge project, and along with that, to authorize the county judge to sign any and all necessary documents to facilitate that application.
How much is the total amount on that, Bobby?
For
What's the maximum amount of the 80/20?
80,000.
80,000.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna cover a lot of the bridge.
Yeah. Every little bit of help, though.
We have to do this before we can go out to bid, right?
No, not necessarily, but it's like everything else the state has. They tell you to get it in as soon as you can because there's a limited amount of money, which we've always got. I mean, it's not like in June you might apply for it.
Right. Okay. So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Myron. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, gentlemen, I want to take this topic back up. I apologize to y'all that when we talked about this a few meetings ago, there was a lot, I guess, of outstanding information that we didn't have. We've gotten a lot more. We've got to address this. We've got to figure this out. And I would say that time is of the essence. We don't have an eternity to determine what we do with the balance of this ARPA money. And it's my understanding, Nicole, we did get that second check, didn't we?
We did.
So we do have the money. There's a lot of information on the portal. There's information from the current county clerk, from the current PBA. We have Grace Dinkins from the clerk's office here. She's able to answer questions if you have them, or even Allison with the PBA office. She says she just really don't want to talk on camera, but I told her she could get asked a question.
And then you'll have to be on camera.
And then there's a chain of emails that you see. I emailed the Parks Director because I wanted to get a feel from the Parks Director on what's going on. And I guess the situation is this. There's a lot of things I guess we could do with this money. My thoughts are, we've all said, I have heard every man that's sitting behind this desk, except for the counselor, but he didn't have a say in this anyway, so he wouldn't have a reason to voice this. But I've heard every man that's sitting behind this desk say, we don't want to spend another penny on that building. Well, I've learned, we talked a lot about the e-filing in the last meeting. I have learned since that the e-filing has nothing at all to do with how many paper documents they have to keep. It doesn't change, great, does it change the amount of paper documents that you have to keep in store? No. So we're not alleviating any document space by the e-filing. Y'all see the pictures, if you've got you see the pictures of how it's going. Myron, I think you've been over there and done electrical work, haven't you?
Yeah, not some of the things I see in this pictures, but I do have one question.
No, I didn't say
Yeah.
you've done the things that we see
No.
in the pictures, but you've been over there.
Yeah, and some of this stuff is left over when Franklin Bank moved out. Some of this stuff could be cleaned up. Only question I have is, do I want to spend, well, it's not I'll make a statement and a question. Yes, I have made a statement that I didn't want to spend any money on that building. But now, that's aside of just regular maintenance. You know, if we elected to build a new clerk's office today and the air conditioner goes out, we still got to put it AC. So my question is why hasn't some of these things that I see here, why has that been directed to our maintenance director? Some of this stuff right here is maintenance issues.
And haven't they been addressed? Especially with my heating upstairs. Now downstairs is fine. Upstairs, it was.
Do you mind? Because, I mean, the problem is, and I didn't realize this, but there are a lot of people, and I'll say a little prayer for you, Allison, that you won't be.
It's fine.
But there are a lot of people that watch these videos, and then they say, well, we couldn't hear what they were saying out there.
Right. I am grateful, being the PVA, that you all provide me with a place. I mean, you have to, but it's a nice place. It is spacious. It is kind of cut up in there. Well, it's a lot. I don't even have a private office because if you come up the back steps, which some people don't want to use the elevator, they come up the back steps, you have to go through the private office to get to the front where we are. So I really don't have a private office. We need a conference area when we have the Board of Tax Appeals, or if someone wants to come in and talk to me privately, I can shut off the room, but then no one can use the steps. It's kind of a strange thing, but that wasn't made for offices up there. It was mainly for storage. We do have storage up there. Got a lot of filing cabinets, but you got to think everybody in Simpson County that owns real estate has a card. Some of them have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, depending on if they've got a farm. So we've got filing cabinets, and with the exponential growth that we've had here, we need more filing cabinets, and I'm afraid we're going to wind up on top of them downstairs if we put any more. They're heavy, very heavy. I did put new flooring down. We were all kind of sickly a lot. It had carpet in there, and it was very old. I did paint the paneling. That paneling that had been in there for however many years. I did paint it, have it painted too. Made it brighter in there, made it better working condition. I did do a little bit more to the tiny, tiny bathroom we had. Nothing had been done to it for years. It was leaking and all kinds of stuff. So I did pay the money out of my budget to do all that. Didn't ask for anything. The air conditioning system is, right now, well, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Last week the humidity wasn't that bad. 2 weeks ago it was 83 up there while we were sitting there. Very hot, very uncomfortable. People that walk up went, oh my goodness, what are you, well, the air's on. And I have addressed this, and I have told him, and it's tried to be fixed. I don't know if we need a new system. I don't know exactly. But the back of the office is a lot warmer than the front. The front is a little bit cooler, maybe 2 degrees. But when it gets that temperature, it's very uncomfortable to work. I don't know if everybody knows, we house 100% of all of the vehicle assessments and 100% of the personal property assessments, which are in form of tangible personal property tax returns. So we have to keep those on file for 7 years for everybody that files one of those. So that's more drawer space that has to be had. And then we house all of the real estate assessments there. I can work there. I have worked there. I've worked there for several years. It's just, if there's any way we could do something different, I think it would be best. I'm not taking anything away from the park. Love the park, know Lisa very well. I'm just giving my aspect from being upstairs over there. And but we've got to have something done with the air conditioning system. Everybody's tried to fix it over the years. The years I've been there, everybody's tried, and it works fine for a month or so, and then here we go again. We have to keep those records for the tax rolls, the boat tax roll, the vehicle tax roll, and the, our property tax roll. We have those are kept, those are permanent records. We're supposed to give them to the clerk. They have no room. Then those are in turn given to the county judge. There's no room over here. So we've been giving them, along with following the protocol there. The History Center's been taking them, but no, they're going to run out of space too one day, because there's no way to keep. They've got a lot of tax rolls, but it's like
What is
books.
the mandate? There's a mandate in June of '23 that's going to be that everybody, every county in the state of Kentucky is going to have to comply as far as electronic filing, or I don't say filing, but
Do you want to address that, Grace?
That's nothing to do with the PBA office. Yeah,
but Allison, how long do you? You can't keep paper files forever. There's never be a structure big enough. How often do you purge this stuff?
well, every 7 years for the tangibles. The other records are permanent.
So there's no possible way that can be done electronically.
Well, maybe if I have enough.
I'm just asking. I don't know.
Maybe. These
there's-
files, the History Center, now when we've remapped years ago, the History Center got all those old cards, but then we had new cards to replace those. With all the new subdivisions and stuff, you're talking, 121 in one folder here, 121 lots. And then it just keeps growing. And we could probably put those electronically, but the information on there, you can't put that in a computer very well. You can, but it's not the same. I could probably do that, but I don't have the manpower to do that either. We're trying to keep up with all of the building and the assessing. And I've got to turn my report in this week so you all can get your numbers. That's all the districts are going to get their numbers hopefully by next week, so you can set tax rates.
And Myron, to address the comments you made, and I understand what you're saying, but I think that was a given. When I said that every one of us have said we don't want to spend money on that building, I think it was a given that, yes, we absolutely, if there is an absolute maintenance need, we're not going to just ignore it. But as far as like trying to rehabilitate or remodel that building, there's just nothing else we can do in there.
But quite a bit of this information that's been forwarded to us is, in my opinion, it's not creating space. These are maintenance issues that they should have been addressed. I'm just asking.
I don't know that I agree with that.
That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But if you got an AZ problem, that's maintenance.
Right.
Well, it could also be the fact that in an older building, depending on how it's insulated, when it is 90-some degrees and the relative humidity is 80 to 90-some %, it can be very difficult to cool a second story on a building that's not really made. Because, you got to understand, that building was built to store stuff up there, not to have offices and space.
Yeah, I don't know what Franklin Bank's intent was when they did
didn't have offices up there.
It was storage and there's a little kitchen back there.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That was what it was.
So,
I'm just getting up information. Some of the stuff right here. I don't know.
The point being, we might could put a brand new heat and air unit up there, and the cooling situation could still be the very same in this kind of heat.
Well, since I've been on the court, this is the first time I've heard about an AC problem. They could have been. I'm sure it's been existing. I just hadn't heard about it.
Well, it's
I
been
just hadn't heard about
20-something years. I've said something about it, or Pam did back in the day too. It's not, like I said, last week it wasn't as bad. It got up to 78 in there. But today I dropped the temperature down to 70 this morning in hopes that it would help it a couple of degrees. I don't know. This week's going to be tough.
There it is.
Any more questions?
Grace, do you want to address the e-filing since? Yeah.
I'm gonna assume that Beth has sent you this. that we
Yeah, it's on the portal.
I made copies just in case so y'all can see everything. About the e-filing, what that is that is just a way to cut down on like postage and mail. So instead of different lawyers' officers, title companies mailing us all these documents, they can just kind of drop it in like an inbox, and we can check it right there and either accept it or reject it. And because typically if we reject something, we turn around, put more paper in it with the information of this is why we're rejecting it, put postage on it, and have to mail it back. Sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes months for us to ever get those documents back. But with e-filing, what it is they can send it to us. If we reject it, sometimes we can get it back in that same day with the things that need to be fixed, or we can get it back that same week. That doesn't change the fact that we still have to file it, and we print those after they're filed. We do have to print those books because we have lots of local people who come in, and even out of state, out of county people who come in to look at those records that don't have access to the online records, because we do offer those, but not everybody has access to those. Especially, we get a lot of Tennessee companies coming in since we're right on the border, and they come in and they don't want to pay for the online access because they don't need it for a long period of time. So they want to come in and look at the books. So we do have to print those. And then if there ever was an issue with any electronic, with the computers and the public systems that we have to print the books because we have to have a backup for people to look at those. And there are lots of people who don't want to look at the computers. They want to pull the books. And then also we have 3 public computers, and there are several times where there's more than 3 people in our office to look at public records. So they have to pull the books because there is no other option because all the computers are full. So we do have to print those books.
Well, just so you know where I'm coming from, when I go to conferences and we talk to other counties and we talk to people in Frankfurt, they indicate that over a period of time that our clerk's offices are going to need less space because of the electronic filing that they do. So I listen to that. I'm listening to everything you're saying this morning. I understand what you're saying. But it's like a double-edged sword. I'm getting information from 2 different directions.
Well, we've talked to 3 separate counties, and I'm not sure how the e-filing can relate to printing the books.
Because I know you can't keep this paper forever. We couldn't build enough structures to keep it.
Some of it we're obligated to keep some forever.
I realize that,
I mean, I know, please don't take this the wrong way, because I mean this to me, you, and all of us.
That's fine.
I know in our finite minds, it's hard to understand how in the world can we keep this stuff forever. I don't even know why we have to keep it forever. But I think even our clerk and treasurer will tell you, we are obligated statutorily to keep certain documents forever.
certain documents.
Yes.
Payroll
Okay.
documents. We have 26 pay periods a year, and it's a file that's about this thick.
But like you said, you're right, certain documents.
Yeah, but you think about a 200-plus year history, and who knows how long time's going. I mean, it's going to add up. I mean, the collecting of documents and the maintaining of paper records is never going away completely.
At some point in the future, I think we'll have to build a building just for storage.
We might have to build just just a concrete block building, or I mean some kind of building just to put storage. I mean, we've got so much stuff stored on the floors up here. The floors, am I right or wrong, Bill? They're literally about to fall in. On the roof. We're going to store it on the roof? No, we have so many documents stored in some of these rooms, like on the 3rd floor. Yes.
Yeah, I don't let people go up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean.
Yeah, but come away from the wall.
Yes.
And here's another situation.
So
too.
why do we have electronic filing? I mean, why we have
She
that?
just told, it's transfer of information back and forth between their offices and the state so that they're not having to actually spend postage mailing.
Well, I guess
back and
I've been
forth.
totally lost out than what we've been hearing since I've been on the court about, everybody's aware of the amount of space it takes to handle paper.
I thought we did that here. Didn't we get some type
Yeah,
of
I mean, there are
electronic?
some files that we can electronic, and we've already started that with, and of course, it's gonna take us forever, because we can only do it on our free time. But, we have already started, and we've eliminated some so far, but now there are some that we cannot eliminate as far as payroll goes. We cannot, those files are permanent.
Yeah, with our documents, we can't eliminate anything because it's all public knowledge, excuse me, and it all deals with property. It's not just deeds and mortgages, but it's any and all types of liens, stuff from the state. It's not just limited to just deeds and mortgages, and I think that sometimes most people they don't know that. So we can't just not record it because it's got to be public knowledge for everyone. And there are still people who come in and they pull in the very, very old mortgage books that are mortgages book 30. We're currently in 520. And it's because they're so old, they have to go back and look at them and see, because back then they did stuff a little bit differently, and see if it's been released. So people still look at those old books, so we have to keep them because they still look at those. And they still have to be accessible.
So, I mean, guys, I guess here's the question. We do have it's a lot of responsibility. It's a good and a bad. The whole ARPA thing is a good and a bad. It's good to have the money, but the bad thing is it causes, I will say, some situations, I guess, kind of like what we're dealing with and facing right now. And that is, how do we determine what is our, I don't know how we really determine what is our greatest need, because every need is great. If you're the one that has the need, it's great. I mean, I don't care what you need. If it's your need, it's great. And I don't care what you need. If it's your need, it's great. It doesn't matter, but every need is great. But we have to try to weigh out, what can we do with this money that the entire community will have use of? And if you own a vehicle, if you get married, if you have property, everyone in this county will use these facilities, which is practically going to be everybody, because if you live here, you're either going to probably own property, own a vehicle, or get married at some point. And I don't know what all else y'all records you may keep. The point being, the building is not good, and we have the money to do something. And I think there's a misconception that if we do this building, we can't help the park. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. The park, I've talked a lot with the city manager over the past week. You see the email that I've chained back and forth between myself and Lisa. And, some of the highlights, I mean, like, she highlighted one of the things when I asked what are some of your immediate concerns was a dog park is one, press boxes that are in poor repair need to be replaced, and then the long-range plan is replacing the ag building. I don't know if she means by replacing the ag building, if she's talking about some kind of community center type deal when they do that. But the point being, they're getting this thing done. It could be another year before they even get their stuff to where they even know what they want to do. And then we're sitting here 6 months away from the deadline of what we do with ARPA funding. But the money with Kentucky Downs is coming. Now, I understand that there's clauses and phrases in that state that depending on their revenue and so on and so forth, that money could be cut. But it's also at the discretion of, I guess, basically the city. I was just glad they included me in that meeting where we went and talked. The $250,000 that they're giving out, we're the ones that determine where that $250,000 went. And we determined that the lion's share of that money every year would go to the park. So $150,000 a year for 20 years, and the other $100,000 is being split between the African American Heritage, Renaissance, there's two other entities, there's four other entities that's each receiving $25,000 a year. And so you take a look at, well, if Kentucky Downs has their revenue down and they have to cut, I got bad news for all of us. If that Kentucky Downs parking lot starts emptying out, the economy's going to be so bad that we're not going to afford to do anything anyway. I mean, you drove by did any of you happen to drive by over the weekend out there? I mean, I drove gas $4 a gallon or whatever. That parking lot was packed. I mean, I don't think it matters. I asked the city manager, I said, if the county were to agree to annually, over the next 20 years while this contract with the Downs is on, if the county would agree to put in an additional $50,000 to $75,000 a year, do you think the city would agree to do the same? And his response was, I think they would in a heartbeat. So and we would have the money. I mean, simply, you heard the PVA talk about the exponential growth we're experiencing. I mean, just by adding 1,000 buildings over the last couple of years, our property tax rolls alone. No, I'm not talking about increasing tax rates. I'm just talking about you've added 1,000 more payers to your property tax rates roll. We easily can generate the extra 50 to 75,000. Then I also asked Kenton, and of course Marty would have more experience with this than any of us, because I don't think this has happened in the 3.5 years since the ones of us have been on here, but I think it's probably happened prior to that, is if the park wants to do a project that, say, cost a couple of $1 million, and they've got these contracts, we've put the extra money in, they've got this contract where they're getting this money from Kentucky Downs, but they need to do this project and they need to bond it. Could the city and the county sign on that bond to have that, before they would have the ability to get that money? And I felt like we could. I felt like this group of people would agree to do that. And I felt like and Kenton feels like the city would. Has that ever happened before? I mean, has the county ever signed to bond?
We've done that for the extension office when they were going to build on the farmer's market. We've helped out the historical society by helping them on their projects over there. It absolutely can be done. 2 meetings ago when we talked about this, I've been saying for a while we need a new clerk's building over there. And then the issue of the building at the park was brought up. The way I see it, we can do both. We have the money to build the clerk's building, and I will reiterate again, if we don't get something done quick, fast, and in a hurry, we're not going to be able to do either with this money, because this money is on a timeline. And so if we try to wait until a building is designed at the park and they studied and find out what their needs are, it's going to be past the time that we have to have this money allocated. So I still say we should build the clerk's building. 2 things that hasn't even been brought up: we will have a building for sale that we can use the money out, the proceeds out of that to help with either this project or help with the park project.
I would be agreeable if we'd done it to let every bit of the money that comes from the sale of that building hand it to the park.
Another issue that hadn't been brought up, and you all didn't bring it up, but the parking in front of that building is horrible. When we talked about moving the clerk's office and the PVA over here to the courthouse a few years ago, we were just, talking about that. And the issue got brought up of, if you move it in the courthouse, people have to walk a long ways to it, and it's hard for handicap accessible. Same way over there, if somebody is in a wheelchair, they have to go to the center, to be able to get up on the sidewalk over there. This new building will be updated. It will be, handicap accessible. It'll be everything it needs to be, and you'll be able to park right in front of the building.
And so that's an issue that wasn't brought up. Just a couple months ago when the election was, one of the things I campaigned on was doing things at the park. And because I still believe we need to promote our park, because there's a lot of people moving into this area, that's one of the first things they look at. But we have the ability to do both. We have the ability to build this clerk's building and do improvements at the park. And by building this clerk's building, or building this building with this ARPA money, we're not borrowing any money. We're using all that. I mean, you won't have to have a bond. And so that ups our bond rating and ups our ability to bond even more if we've got another building that's paid for. But I think, when Jim Henderson was judge executive, and they sold the land out here at exit 6 when the Gardens had it, and I was on the road coming back from North Carolina, and he called me and said, we have an opportunity to buy this land out here for, I think it was $5,000 or $6,000 an acre to buy the whole thing, which was high at the time.
Bought the whole county.
And I told him, I said, if we have the ability to buy that land for that, we should buy it, because in a few years, everybody, I think we really did good, and you can look at what's built out there in that industrial park now. So in 20 years from now, I would think that people would say they did a really good thing by building this building, because I guarantee in 20 years, that building over there will not work. But in 20 years, we'll have one down here that will. I'm in favor of doing it, but I'm only one vote on this court. So that's
And I agree.
all I can say.
I don't think, and I agree, I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. And I think everybody up here understands the need, I think they do, for the clerk's building. And I also think that everyone up here understands the need and the desire to help the park, grow the park, make it better. I just don't think the two are mutually exclusive. But I think if we're talking about the $2 million roughly of the ARPA funding, where it should go, I feel like we need to obligate it to the clerk's building, then we can obligate other monies to the park along with what they're getting from the downs. And we're able to do both. I don't understand how anyone can see we're not able, but we're able to do both. They're not mutually exclusive. It's not like you can say, okay, we can put this money in the park and then we'll just have to worry about the clerk's building later. Well, the problem is, come on, Bill. The problem is if we worry about the clerk's building later, then we're going to be back into a bond payment. We're going to be, and if we're doing this, if we're looking at, Myron, you're in the construction business, you know this.
We don't have enough ARPA money right now based on those prices that our architect give us.
Do what?
There's not enough money according to per square foot price that we've got on the clerk's office. There's not enough money in ARPA to completely.
It's pretty close. It's pretty darn close.
Well,
But the problem being, if we put this off and we wait 4, 6, 8 years, what you're going to do for the $2 million range is going to cost you in the $4 million range down the road. And then you're going to have no option but to bond it, because it ain't like we can just bank this ARPA money and collect interest on it for the next 6 or 8 years.
That's true.
We can't just bank it. But I just don't think the two, I think the discussion between the clerk's building and improvements at the park do not have to be mutually exclusive discussions. I think they can be both. It's just, how do we get there? And I think we've got a good plan to get there. It's just.
I want to address the court on some issues that were just brought up. First of all, I've been here going on 8 years, and I've never, ever not addressed an issue that's been in roads. Never. And it's always been in a timely manner. I either do it that day. If it's late today, I'll do it the next morning. I had no idea that it was 83 degrees up in that building. And it would have been nice if somebody had called me and let me know, because there is enough air conditioning up there to bring it down. We've had some issues with freon leaks. We've had 3 issues with drains. The drain pumps are burning out because of the drains installed. And evidently it's not big enough, and I want to be able to address that. I want to put a new drain system in for the air conditioners. And then the other issue is, Mr. Thurman says that the things that were listed here were maintenance issues, and it would have been nice, really nice, if I had seen a copy of this so I could address them. If they're maintenance issues, I need to see them. All this talk and all this about the building and what we're gonna build, nobody's asked me what kind of shape the building's over there. I've been under it, I've been on top of it, I've been everywhere. Yes. But, you know, we're going by what they come over and talk about their storage and what they've done, and everything they've done has been things for cosmetic purposes. Yes, the wiring is, there's nothing wrong with the wiring, it just needs to be cleaned up. And some of the piggyback breakers taken out probably have a lot of wires that run all over that building, don't go anywhere. And they've probably been changing that, but that's not gonna affect the building. You know, does anybody know that there's a water issue on the west side of that building? I do. I went up underneath there and the ledgers were rotted out because the water, everybody thinks that that little jewelry building is attached to it. It's not attached to it. There's a 3-foot gap in there and there's no roof over it. So trash and water has been going in there ever since the little jewelry store has been made. So we got a major water infiltration on the west side of that building because there's nowhere for it to drain. So where's it go? It goes into our building. And it rotted out our ledgers, and that's what we had to put it all new in there when Mr. Kivett come up and redid that floor. My thing is, I will address any maintenance issues that come up. I always have, always will. But I need to know about them. I don't like to come to court and sit in court and somebody says, you know, we had to deal with 83 degrees. And usually everybody calls me. I guarantee you when an air conditioner don't work, they call me. I had 140-some people in the circuit court last week, 75 degrees in there. I had 8 tons of air conditioning. I did all I could do. I had them wide open. I couldn't get them down because there was 140-some people in a room that, you know, with 8 tons of air conditioning. So I would just like to be notified, and we can address some of this stuff, and we can talk about the building, but nobody's included me. Except Mason has asked me stuff about the building.
And I'll say, Bill, the pictures that we've got here, because I don't do maintenance. I'm not even gonna try to do maintenance. But I know a little bit about construction and house building and how things should be and look. Some of the stuff we're looking at in that picture is just stuff that I don't think there's anything that can be done with it.
Or I said, I haven't seen them. They were not sent to me. Because like I said, if there's something on that list that I could address, I will address. I've addressed the leaks on the roof. I can tell you one thing that I've got going over there right now. I've got one set of light bulbs in the bottom hallway that's not burning. That's what I know. That's what I know myself. And I don't want to take a ladder in there for 2 light bulbs. I want to wait till I guess maybe 1 or 2 others go out, then I can take my ladder in there because I have to bring the ladder up, take it in the building, set it up before they open. So, I mean, if I know about this stuff, I will address it, but I can't address it if nobody calls me or texts me or let me know.
I think, to me, the biggest question on the building, to me, this is just the building itself, is can it accommodate the clerk's office for the next couple of years? Yes. Can it accommodate the clerk's office for the next 10, 20, 30 years? Absolutely not. Is that building really a good building? And I think the answer to that is probably not. I mean, it's an okay building, but it has needs.
Well, I mean, I just had the roof, we had a leak.
Right.
When they went up there to do the roof, I asked the roof guy, I said, what we got up there? He said, you got a real good roof. But the time for the limit on the roof has already expired.
Yeah.
He said, but I will give you 5 years on that roof. It's a rubber roof. He said, it's a good one. It's not in really bad shape. But he knew when it was put on, and he said, it ran out of time. It's really, the time for it to be replaced has already passed. But he said, I'll give you 5 years on that roof. The first floor, half of the first floor next to the elevator has been completely replaced with floor joists. The other side where the ladies sat, they only had flooring put on top of what existed. And we've tried to add IT Ethernet connections and stuff like that for the phone. We've tried to do everything that, that's been needed over there. The downstairs air conditioning, I've never been over there. It's not been 70 degrees in there. And there had been some issues on the second floor, but like I said, I have no idea that it was 83 up there. Somebody needs to call me. If anybody has any questions about the building, I'd be glad to let you know.
Bill, the number I remember hearing a few years ago was to do take those electric wires out you're talking about and to do things that needed to be done to that building as far as the mold issues and the thing that needs to be done to it, whichever several on that list. If I remember right, was that number somewhere in the $100,000 to $150,000 range?
I mean, I don't know what was addressed in that issue.
They were talking about to pretty much do everything on that building.
If you had to put a roof on that building, you're talking about some money.
So, and I by no means am saying that building is a bad building or is ready to fall down or anything
I'm
like
not saying
that.
it's falling down.
But I'm just saying, what we were told by a former clerk was there was really no room for expansion in that building.
You see, I can't address that because I don't know what
But
they need.
that's
know
what we
they
were
need.
told, there was really no room for expansion in that building. And then that number of, it seems to me it was 100 to 150,000 is what, and I may be wrong on that, but I think that was the number that was given to the fiscal court. And at that time, we said, before we would spend $150,000 on that building, we would put $150,000 towards a new building.
Yeah.
And then sell that building and then have an updated building that would be more suitable for the future of what a clerk and PBA needed to be.
Grace, how long have you worked at the clerk's office?
It'll be 2 years on Thursday.
2 years. How much have you seen added document-wise during your 2 years?
We go through a mortgage book about every 2 weeks, and that's it's 800 pages.
Every 2 weeks?
Yes, sir. Because that counts that's just when they refinance or then when you buy a new house. That's just the mortgage books. That's
So
not
you're talking
counting
about
everything.
1,600 pages in a month, roughly,
Just on mortgages.
Just on a
just
mortgage
on
book.
mortgages?
Mhm.
Holy moly.
Well, remember now, a few years ago, a mortgage was like 4 pages. If you just sign a note at the bank, it was 3 or 4 pages. And that's like, you'll pay this.
Mortgages, I can
And
tell
now
you from
it's-
personal experience, when I first started, back in the early to mid-90s, a mortgage was maybe 2 to 3 pages, 4 tops with
Now
the notaries.
now it's 100.
Now it's
So-
like 20 to 25.
They average about 20 pages. Like, for example, like Marty, we get stuff in on you quite often. And so if there's a form, typically they're smaller pages from like 6 to 8, but that's not the majority of what we get. It's just everyday people coming in. And that's just the mortgage books. It's not counting the liens, the fixture filings, the deeds, the master commission deeds, the notary bonds, everything we get from you guys, we have to file all that too.
The
So that's just
wills,
the mortgage book every 2 weeks.
the wills you have to get.
Wow.
Wills. I know there's other things that I'm not thinking of either.
All right. Well, there's no need in beating this horse anymore, but I will pose a question here, and this is a serious question. And I don't want anybody to be upset. I don't want anybody to be angry, because we have got to figure this out, and we've got to get along to do it. But if the consensus of this court is still as it was a couple of meetings ago, that we're not going to spend that ARPA money to build that building, then the question is, exactly what are we going to do with that money, and what exactly is the plan to take care of the clerk's building down the road? Because I've said time and time again, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think we have the ability to do this building, and I think we have the ability to help the park. But if we shovel the remainder of this ARPA money to the park, then we do not have the ability to build this building without a bond payment again.
And the
And I
park,
would prefer not to saddle the taxpayers with another bond payment after jumping out of the one with the big one on the jail right now.
and the park will still get the money,
And the-
because we can't take the money that the man is obligated to the park or dedicated to the park and use it to build a clerk's building with.
No.
It goes to the park.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's just a question. I'm not saying you have to answer it in here today, but I do need an answer in a fairly timely manner, is if we're not going to do it that way, then what is the plan for that money? And then what is the plan for the clerk's building down the road?
I'd say we need to figure it out pretty sooner than later, because we've got to get this money, we've got to get, if we're going to do this clerk's building, we need to get it bid out or get to, let them study it, because it may, I know we was talking about 9,000 square feet, but after they go over and talk to them,
And
it
it may
may
not
turn out
be.
to be 7,500 square feet, so.
And the gentleman that we originally talked to, just so you two know, if we do get to proceed down this route, they're gonna come and sit down and talk with y'all and say, what are y'all doing right now that works in this building? And what are you doing that really doesn't work well? And what are your needs to expand and grow? I mean, it's not that the court is just gonna say, hey, that's the building we want, go do it. I mean, I don't know what the needs of the clerk's building and the PBA office are. So, anyway, gentlemen, that's the task at hand. I mean, we gotta know. I did ask RJ, and I hope everybody finds this as humorous as I do, they probably won't. I did ask RJ, was the ARPA money like the CARES Act money, subject to the discretion of the county judge or the entire court? And he said, well, obviously, if you do anything, the court needs to vote on it. I said, yeah. But, you know, the CARES money was strictly at the discretion of the county judge, but we didn't. Anyway. All right. Anybody else have a question, comment, concern?
I'll be glad to make another motion if it'll get seconded and voted on.
Do what?
I said I'll be glad to make another motion if it'll get a second and get voted on.
Do y'all need more time?
I mean, that's fine. I'm not voting for it today, so whatever y'all want to do. it's fine.
Today or at all? I'm just
Well,
I'm just curious.
right now, no. I'm still out.
Well, then what would be the plan? I'm not trying to stir up anything, but what would be the plan? I'm just, and we can't discuss it privately. We have nowhere else to discuss it but in a
Well,
public
why
meeting.
can't we use ARPA money for a park instead of this, and we can bond this? I'm not saying we don't need this eventually, but why can't we do that?
Okay, we could, but why would we want to put a bond on the taxpayer for a building that we don't have to?
Well, either way, you're gonna have to do that. If you build the clerk's office, then how are you gonna?
Because the park, over the next 20 years, is going to receive that $3 million from,
Possible.
I think, I like their chances. They also, if we would be willing to agree to put in another 50 or 75,000, possibly even another 100,000, and the city does the same, you're anywhere from another million to $2 or $3 million over the same. So I mean, they could eventually end up over that time period with $5-6 million to do what they need to do. And yes, you would be spending that $50,000-$75,000, whatever, a year on a bond payment. On the park out of taxpayer money, but you're not obligating yourself to a 30-year bond. And I mean this with all respect, Scott. I really do mean this with all respect. I do not understand the thinking there. I don't understand why you would want to put all of the money in the park with the contract that's in place, and then turn around and make a bond payment on building a clerk's building. I don't, And if they are one and the same, then why would it make a difference?
It don't make, that's what I'm saying.
Then-
Well, then let's just put it on the park.
When is the deadline on this ARPA money?
We have to,
December 24.
it has to be obligated as far as what you're gonna do by 2024, December of
Yeah,
2024.
December of 2024,
And it has to be fully spent by December of
2026.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at. And if you got 3 to do it, I'm good.
You know, it's gonna take, if we get back to the park, we talk about the community building or whatever it's gonna be called or whatever. It probably would take the monies, whatever we receive from Kentucky Downs. I've read that contract. I mean, there's not, that's what their intentions are. Now, I don't even know if you could go to the bank with that intention. I don't know, maybe you can. But it's gonna take quite a bit of money just to operate that facility, probably everything that Kentucky Downs is gonna give the parks. It'd probably take every bit of that just to operate that facility after it's up and going.
Well, that money can't be used for operation.
Or even putting the
That-
furnishings in that building.
That money that they're doing is only
Capital improvements.
contracted by capital expenditures, not operational costs. And it'd be the same way. I mean, if we were sitting here with, I mean, okay, let's say we just had unlimited money. Let's just suppose for a minute that we just had more money and we knew what to do with, and we said, we're gonna build the first building, and we're gonna spend another 2 or 3 or 4 million or whatever doing something at the park. How are we gonna operate it? That was the whole discussion that was centered around the aquatic center 4 years ago. It's like, yeah, it's nice to build it, you're gonna have the money to build it, how are you gonna operate it? How are you gonna run it? I mean, the one thing about the clerk's building, we don't necessarily have to worry about how we're gonna operate it, because they're bringing in an excess revenue. I mean, we don't have to worry about that.
But the extra 50 to 75,000, we'll go back to those numbers, the extra 50 to 75,000, they'll have to be used to operate that facility. They'll have to be.
I mean, at some point, there will have to be something done to operate, and I mean.
I was kind of neutral in this right here.
I don't mean this bad either, but I mean, here's something that, and I hear this a lot, and this is a tall task for us to figure out. I hear all the time, I want to safeguard our small town feel, but I want everything that Bowling Green and Nashville has. I mean, so you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I want to protect the small town feel, but I want all the amenities. And if you start comparing what we're able to do in Simpson County with what they're able to do in Warren County with 7 times the population, I mean, there's not even a comparison. I mean, there's no way to compare what happens in a community that's 7 times bigger than Simpson County. I mean, if we had Warren County's revenue, would be one thing, but to get Warren County's revenue, we've got to have the Warren County's population, and we don't have it.
If you get 10% of the people of Warren County to support something, you've basically got the whole population of Simpson County doing it.
Right.
You know,
Of course, since this has been brought up, I've had not a great deal of calls, but a few calls, just asking what's on our minds. So I've kind of done a little poll. It's not accurate, but it's a poll. When I asked the public, what do they think their needs are? It's hands down of a community building at the park, hands down. I mean, there's no discussion.
I'm sure it is, absolutely, but they have no realization of how much they actually use the clerk's building and what the purpose and function of the clerk's building is.
I'd be shocked if a
it would
clerk's
be-
building would be used more than a community building. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked. I mean, what was
kids
it,
use
15, 16,000 cars or restorations, and, I mean, I'm just telling you what's been relayed to me.
Just
okay?
about everybody in the county annually has to use the clerk's and/or PVA's office for legal stuff. I've been keeping my mouth shut, and I'm sorry, I can't hold my peace any longer, but I'm just saying, from a legal standpoint, I'm telling you, just about everybody in the county uses that office. Maybe not little kids, but their parents sure do. Not everybody in the county accesses the park.
Well,
Now, you can say, they go there, and I'm not against the park, but what I'm saying is, and I think you brought this up last time, Judge, if you ask people, do you want broccoli or do you want ice cream? Well, everybody's going to want the ice cream, but what they need is the broccoli, and it's not just giving, part of being on this body is doing what needs to be done, not necessarily what everybody wants to be done. And they're not always mutually exclusive. But I'm telling you, everybody in the county, whether they want to or not, uses that services of the clerk and the PVA every year. Not everybody accesses the park. So I'm just saying, I think, as I said, they have to use the services of the clerk and the PVA. They're required to, but in compliance with the law and the statutes. So it's not like they want to, they're required to. Like, we're required to use the services of the Revenue Cabinet in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and we're required services of the Internal Revenue Service for the federal government. So, and no one wants to not, it suits me fine to get rid of the IRS, but that's not, I imagine I'd be a popular guy. My position would be very popular. So, but that's not the way it goes. So, I mean, I'm all for the park. I want the park. I love the park. My kids use the park. The Rotary Club has a pavilion there. We go out there. Grew up going to horse shows out there, going to the county fair. Played a little ball out there. What I'm saying is, if you're balancing what's necessary, that's necessary. And I know you don't. I understand that's probably an unpopular opinion, but that's the way it is.
And I go back to what you said, one thing you said there, Sam, and that's they're not mutually exclusive. I don't want Scott, Myron, Nate, whoever, or anyone listening on camera, I don't want anyone to think that I do not want to help improve the park. I absolutely want to help improve the park. I think what we should do, though, is let the new director get this, whatever she's working on now, get that done, and let her drive that bus instead of us driving that bus. And I think that we should obligate the county money on something that we are solely responsible for, which is the clerk's building, rather than, again, entering into a joint venture like we did with the city on emergency communication equipment, which I think was absolutely the right thing to do and probably was the most important use of that money. But here with the park, we don't have the sole responsibility for funding and taking care of the park. That's a joint responsibility with the city. So let us jointly fund it as we can, but use the remainder of this ARPA money for something that the county is solely responsible for without obligating the taxpayer to another bond payment. And I think we can do both. I honestly think we can do both. But I think we should use that money that we have for county responsibility and then use any excess revenues to help bolster the park. And I applaud the city for putting together the contract with Kentucky Downs, because the park, the Renaissance, the African American heritage, they were all bleeding losses in bingo money, because who wants to play bingo for $100 a night if you can go out there and win $180,000 on one of those pari-mutuel wagering machines? And so I applaud the city for putting that together and working out that sewer deal and saying, hey, we'll help you out if you'll help out some of our 501c nonprofits here. So I just think we can do both.
That's what I was saying all along. I'm not saying build a clerk building, not do nothing in the park. I'm saying do both.
Right.
Because we have the funding from out there to do the park, and we have the ability to pay for the clerk's building. So that's where I'm at. I think Judge would say something.
Guys, this is merely a suggestion. I've talked to a lot of the county employees, went to the Kentucky Jailers Association meeting about 3 weeks ago, heard some of the things that were going on in other counties around us. Matter of fact, going to the Governor's Local Issues Conference coming up, I'm going to be asking some questions up there myself to see what other counties are doing. And I'm not speaking on behalf of the elected officials in this town. I'm speaking on behalf of your county full-time employees. I would like for you to consider, you're talking about what we're to do with the ARPA money and this, that, and the other. I know Berrien County, they gave not their elected officials, they gave their full-time county employees a $2,500 bonus out of that ARPA money. Warren County gave their full-time employees, and I know we were talking about you can't compare Bowling Green to Franklin. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, can't do that. We're getting close to half. But they gave their employees, each employee, full-time employee, with the exception of the elected officials, $5,000. Now, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you on behalf of the employees for giving the 7% raise, okay? I'm telling each and every one of you at that table, thank you. Inflation went up 8%. We gave 7. That doesn't even, they're still in the hole. Thank you for the $50, the suggestion, Marty. Appreciate that. That helps a little bit. But if it drops below, we didn't help it. You know what I'm saying? So I would consider, I would appreciate it if you know, y'all would consider telling these employees, thank you, one time. Whatever that amount might be, if you could consider it. Just tell them thank you. I mean, this is free money through the government. It's federal money.
There's no free money.
You know what, I agree with you, Mason, but you understand what I'm saying. This is money, unexpected income, or monies, and, you know, it can be used at y'all's, decision, however you want to do it, but you're asking for suggestions. Me listening to our employees, our fire department, our sheriff's department, our jail, our county works department, you know.
Well, hold up a second, because you mentioned a department there that won't even qualify.
The county road.
No.
Fire department.
Yes. Let me
Okay.
explain something. This discussion has been had internally in the office. It has been brought up by the former county clerk. The problem to use this money for employee stipends under ARPA regulations, and the county treasurer, correct me if I'm wrong here, because she's probably listened to as much, if not more, of these funding regulations than I have. If you had departments that were on split shifts during the COVID and they weren't, they would not qualify. We had the fire department and the clerk's office both on split shifts, so they would not qualify.
You have to have worked during the COVID period in the office 100% of the time.
Yeah. So that's going to
Because
eliminate.
that's the whole point of it.
So number
Those
one.
people are coming to work in a public place.
How is
And
Warren
they're
County
working.
and Berrien County doing?
They're probably.
They must have not did split schedules with their staff.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how they
Everybody did
scheduled
it
their staff
differently.
and what they was going on.
I'm just
Yeah.
asking, I do not know the
The-
specifics, I just know that
Yeah.
they done it, I know the city, you know, they were letting their guys take off, you know, X amount of hours during COVID and this, that, and the other, and, you know, we made it through COVID, we saved a lot of money, and all I'm saying is, thank you, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a suggestion, y'all can take it and do what you want to, but it's out there and it's out there publicly, so, but it's been out there, they just, nobody has said anything about it, I guess they haven't brought it to you, so that's what I was.
Yeah,
doing.
No.
And that's all I
believe me,
got.
I've heard it, but and I'll just be honest with you on how I feel. I love our employees, and it takes, and I've said this time and time again, every position is important, but every position is not equal. I mean, you can't say that the firefighter is an equal job to the fire chief. Not saying the firefighter's not important, but it's not an equal job to the fire chief. You got guys on the road crew that bush hog and do whatever they're doing. It's important, but it's not an equal job to being the road supervisor. Every job is important, but not all jobs are equal. I just feel like, as the county judge, I feel like this ARPA money should be used in a manner that will benefit the entire community, not just a group of people, because our employees weren't the only employees that were still grinding and working all through the COVID and having to do what they done. And there is no ARPA money to give the other 10,000 people in the county that worked every day an ARPA bonus. I mean, I would do whatever we could for our employees that we can do annually, year in and year out. I just don't know how good I feel about doing that. And then we really would have to examine back to, if we had people on split shifts and they weren't working in the office the entire time, I don't think they really qualify. So to answer how, and I know some of the other counties are doing exactly what you're talking about, I'm not sure how they're getting around that, or maybe they're excluding some of the departments that were on split shift. I don't know. I've not talked to them to find out what the ins and outs are.
Jody, you made my point from the forum. If we just said we got $2 million to spend and asked everybody, we'd have spent about 30, 45 minutes. If we just said, here we go. But we would have nothing to show for it. I mean, giving a few employees a raise, they would have that money for a little bit. But building a capital project in the county for the community would show for years.
I wouldn't talk about a raise, I was talking about like a one-time thing like that.
Giving them the one-time bonus would last for a little bit. Building a capital project for the county. And I'm talking about the clerk's building and the building at the park. Building that is something that the people of the community would have for years.
And I'm not disagreeing with that either. So,
Yeah.
you were asking for suggestions.
Right.
I was giving you a suggestion.
All right, thank you, sir. Let's do this. I think it's pretty obvious that where at least two of us stand. I think it's not as obvious maybe where three of us stand. I want to ask y'all, would y'all either come and talk to me or get more information from Grace or Allison, something, because we're going to have to take this back up in the next meeting or two. And we're either going to have to proceed or we're going to have some kind of plan. All right. Got an opportunity to review the cash transfer. I need a motion and a second to approve the cash transfer of $5,468.01 from the federal grant fund to the general fund.
So moved.
Motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Meyer. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Now, if you looked at the budget transfers, we need a motion to make that whopping $244 transfer.
Hold on, Mason.
Got a motion by Myron?
Second.
Second by Nate. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. If you had an opportunity to review the bills and claims, we just need a motion and a second to approve the bills and claims as presented.
So moved.
Is that Marty or Nate?
Get Nate.
Nate, both of you? All right, so Nate made the motion, Marty seconded. I heard everything on this side. My hearing's still not the best. So we got a motion by Marty, a second by Nate. Any question, discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, I need to clarify, because I thought I had it one way. So Marty made the motion,
You originally said Nate and Marty, then you
Nate-
flipped
Nate
it.
and Marty. Well, they both, Nate and Marty. Nate made the motion, Marty seconded. I'm
okay,
sorry.
okay, that's the way I read it, thank you.
Grace, thank you. Allison, thank you. Reports, I just want to say, we all rode in the parade yesterday, and it was hot. It was hotter than the 4th of July. But it was a good parade, and so I want to commend all the people that were involved in organizing it, getting it together. They've done a great job, and it was a lot of fun. Always fun to participate in county, community events, so on and so forth. Had a lot of calls about the burn ban, and I tried to explain with the video that Sean Gregory and I done, that it wasn't targeting fireworks, but obviously you have to light or ignite fireworks. Had a lot of people calling, messaging yesterday, has the ban been lifted? And I'm like, well, we've only gotten spotty rain. I mean, down here like in the heart of the city, in this part of the county, it hasn't rained more than sprinkles in probably 5 weeks. Thankfully, there were parts of the county Saturday that got some rainfall, but guys, we're in desperate need of some rainfall. Some farmers are in desperate need of rainfall, and it is extremely, extremely dry. And I'll let the chief, if he wants to, talk about how dangerous setting a fire could be. But you don't have to, but just understand, as dry as it is, setting anything to fire could be extremely dangerous right now. Oh, you come, yeah, you go ahead and just get it out of the way, and then I'll finish mine.
Yeah, so we did, it was over the weekend, I guess, we did have a little shower of rain, and immediately, some people went out and burnt some stuff that they were trying to, and whether the rain was okay, it was just, the timing wasn't the best. So just because we have a little bit of rain does not mean, it has alleviated our problems. Typically what we see is we will have a little bit of rain. Yes, stuff does get wet. That does not mean that the ground has absorbed the moisture. So you don't have the fuel moisture in it. It will dry out very quickly, especially with a little bit of wind. And actually, we have in the past experience where we get a bunch of rain, substantial, like an inch or two of rain, and then folks go and burn the next day, and the field is on fire. But guess what? It's so muddy we can't even get in there to it. We've got trucks stuck, or we've had to have tractors. We've had tractors get stuck trying to get the trucks out. It just creates a little bit of problem. So please, I understand everybody, that they may have that pile they want to get rid of, but please just, exercise some caution. And if you can put it off, put it off. I looked earlier, there's a chance of rain just about every day this week. Now, who knows,
Let's hope we get it.
Obviously, that's subject to change at any given time. But yes, we are still currently under the burn ban, and again, we need significant rain everywhere. I know we had a decent rain the other day in town. I got home and it was probably stopped a mile from my house. We didn't catch any of it. So, and that's true throughout the whole county. So.
All right, thank you, Chief. Also, I'll get more information on this as we get there, but I got an email from KSP talking about how much more our 911 services are about to cost us. So I'm wanting to sit down with them and have a conversation and a discussion about that. But as it sits at this moment, they're saying that it's going to be nearly $300,000 in addition to the the cell phone fees, and we're currently paying how much? 190, 179.
My computer's not working today for some reason, so.
We're currently not paying anywhere near $300,000. But so I sent them back an email and said, hey, could we have a meeting later this week, just discuss all this. So maybe I'll have some more information at the next meeting.
I'm sure, I know the landlines have dropped, but they won't give us the numbers on the.
Well, they claim in this thing here, they claim that this $186,370 is what they're getting in cell phone revenue. But based on the 2011 numbers that we had, that was almost $130,000, it's hard for me to believe that they've only increased $50,000 in 11 years. But I don't know, we'll see. That's all I've got. Myron, you have anything?
No report.
Scott?
No.
Nate?
Well, just with the Parks and Rec, the master plan will be going forward from now since the city has agreed, just like we did, on the 36,000 to put towards it. So now that master plan will be going into effect, and we should be hearing something here in the near future as far as what's going to become of it.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Marty?
We had a few friends over Saturday night for a little cookout. I just appreciate everybody coming out, and we'll have it again next year. Just asked everybody to be safe, and I'm glad everybody made it through the weekend okay.
Counselor?
I've said more than enough.
Sheriff?
No report,
Okay. Jailer?
I just want to revisit that part-time deal that we didn't talk about. We said we talked about it in this meeting. We talked about, last meeting, we talked about especially part-time deputy, and we said we revisited this meeting. I just want to know what y'all's thoughts are on that, and we're going to be able to 1099 it, or can't. I mean, y'all voted for a part-time blanket.
Well, we still got to get these contracts redone.
That's another thing I was fixing to bring up.
That we currently have in place, and I really think there's going to have to be an insurance component to that somehow.
What about a part-time salary minimum? Because we're already doing one like that.
I mean, just here's the thing, and I mean, of course, obviously anyone on this sitting right here right now can make a motion. But the way that our budget is currently put together, there cannot be a change in any salary or number without there being an amendment to that budget.
Right. In the past, and Marty is the one that verifies this, because I always look at him every time I ask about this. If it's in our budget and we can pay for it, do what you gotta do. And he says that on camera. And we've done that for years since Henderson was here. So if we couldn't do it back, I'm just asking.
Yeah, my point being, the salary numbers are, what's in the budget reflects the part-time hourly rate. So to make that change would require a budget amendment.
Okay.
Because there will be, is there money there today? Yes, there will be there today, but it won't be at the end of the year.
We're $468,000 under our budgeted amount for the year. 217, I got the numbers in my pocket if y'all want to know the penny. But I mean, we're well under what we budgeted for this year. We finished up $468,000 and some change, 827.
Well, we budgeted a little over 900,000 transfer in. And transferred in about 700,000. So then you got about 200 and some thousand in the House Bill 558 or 58, whatever that number is.
It hasn't been transferred, I think's what it is, and then we carried over 247.
Right.
Does that sound right?
Right.
So about $500,000 going into this year that we didn't use money in this budget, and plus going over. I'm asking for $3,500. And it might save us $25,000. So I just want you to consider.
I mean, I understand, and I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. But I think you and I have different budget philosophies.
We do.
In that, if you budget to transfer in 900,000 and you only transfer in 700,000, you didn't save $200,000. You still transferred in. You're still $700,000 needing to operate. If you save $200,000, then we would have transferred in nothing. I mean, the budget, what got transferred in may be less than what was budgeted, but there's still no budget surplus there.
Right. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I could go into explaining to the public my side of it, but it's gonna take a minute and I don't get into a match. So I'm just asking for something simple. That's all I'm asking for. It can be principle. We have a lot of principles that happen in this town at convenient times. I just want to know, I'm asking for something simple. The other part of it is, we need to figure out if this can't happen, or if this has to be this way, then I've got a huge issue with these other contracted people. And if I let those contracted people go, all this extra money that's coming in on these $1,000 every time they complete a course, these extra $1,000 that are coming in, that's going to go away too, because I can't get them where they need to be. And there's a lot of money coming in.
But somehow, counselor, the contracted people, because if you're contract labor, you cannot, we're not paying work comp in on contracted labor.
No.
And they're inside the building.
Yeah.
So we got an issue that needs to be fixed right now, or everything stops. All this extra stuff is going to stop because I can't do it.
But and here's the thing, I don't know how to fix that's on.
But if you can fix that, then we can fix this $3,500 request too, at the same time.
But that part's a different component. That part would have to be a motion by the court to do so.
However we need to do it. I'm asking y'all at the court, please make the decision so I know what I need to do, because I'm telling you, if we don't get something done real quick, I will stop the other part. And I'm not saying that in a vindictive way. It's to protect the county. But when you protect the county, you've got issues or things that are going on that are bringing in money, which is keeping us down there. No contributions from the court. Do you see what I'm saying?
So what you're saying is, if we don't vote to let you pay one
No.
person $25 an hour. Now let me finish.
Okay.
What you just said, if you don't get this $3,500, which is to pay one person $25 an hour when everybody else is getting paid $15, you're gonna stop all the other programs. Is that what you know?
Wait just a minute.
I'm just asking you.
You put a spin on it, and Marty, I'm gonna tell you straight up, and I don't want to call names out. But if this is the issue, the 1099s, if it's an issue, these people are working inside the building, so the liability's there, right? No different than the $3,500. The other part of it is, if it's that big of a concern, which now since it's been brought up, it is a concern. But if we don't figure out a way to put them on the liability insurance, they can't do their jobs.
We can't have them on liability insurance on a 1099. They have to provide their own insurance. That's the whole, is that not right, Counselor?
And no more than we're paying them. I don't know of one person that can afford to do that. Which is that's where the flip side of it is. You're gonna have to have people that are qualified to do this, these extracurriculars, which is generating money. I'm not being vindictive. I'm just telling you, this is where we're at. Y'all brought it to light. I didn't.
Right.
And it's a concern. So I don't know what to do. But there's a lot of money that they are doing that is bringing money into the court, which is offsetting the cost of the taxpayers.
Those classes are directly benefit inmates.
Yes, sir.
Pay for it out of commissary.
We do.
Pay for the insurance out of commissary.
You're draining the commissary to where there ain't gonna be none, and I'm already obligated $200-something thousand to the court right now. You're talking about buying a private insurance policy? I don't know the solution to this. That's what I'm saying. This has opened up a can.
I don't know.
Yeah, because now, based on what you just said, you'll cut down on some of the programs. Now we're gonna have a lost revenue. So now, Eric, it's getting out of hand. I mean, we got a budget based on the information you brought us as far as those programs, and now we potentially going to lose revenue.
But I don't think.
So
I understand what you said. And I hear what Myron said. But listen to me a minute. I don't think your request for the one part-time employee. Let's put that on the side.
It's over there. Go ahead.
Let's put that on the side.
Let's talk about the issue that has been brought up.
Because even if this court says, you know what, we voted on the budget, this is what we put in the budget, that's not gonna change. Just because that doesn't change, doesn't mean these programs have to end.
No, we gotta accommodate what the issue has come to light now.
And if I had the answer to that, I would have already fixed it. This is legal counsel here. I don't know what has to be done to fix it. Or even if it has to be fixed. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Yes, sir.
Counselor, can you chime in?
I've been trying to get a word in edgewise here unsuccessfully. The fix is one of two things. Either we change the existing contracts to require them to have, private insurance. And I don't know, I'm just saying, I'm giving possibilities. Neither one are very palatable, but these are possibilities. One is, three possibilities. First possibility is you throw your hands up, say to heck with it, terminate all the contracts. You lose your, no one really wants that because the programs are beneficial to the inmates. No one disagrees with that, especially me. But there is lost revenue. Second possibility is that you change the contracts to put a requirement in there where they have to have insurance, private insurance. I'm not in the insurance business, but I would venture to say that that would be almost cost, if not completely cost prohibitive to the person involved. But I'm just saying that's possibility number two. Possibility number three is tear up the contracts and hire them on under the county umbrella. Make them part-time employees. And then that way they're under the county umbrella, workers' comp is paid, they have the option of having health insurance however that works. But those are basically your three options. I didn't say any one of them are palatable. You've got a choice of evils here. And I'm just saying, I don't think you can do a hybrid. I think what you're going to have to do is figure out the least bad option and go with that. I will help you and the fiscal court, like I always do, whichever decision. I'll talk it through whichever you think is the least bad one, and I'll see what you think. I'll think about it and see if I think you're right or not. Some of this stuff you're going to know a whole lot more about than I do. And then I will help you affect that, whether it's the fiscal court, the jail, or both. I'm just saying, I will do this. Now, I've talked to Brent early last week, or maybe late the week before. I was gone nearly all week. My family took a trip. And so I got back in time to go to court and then had other stuff, and then the holidays popped up. So I'm ready. I told them to send me an email on the contract people, and we'll try to sort it out. I'm ready to do that. Just y'all contact me and let me know. We can't sort it out here, but I need to talk to you guys.
That kind of goes back to what Marty was saying. I don't mind doing that, but paying what we're paying and the people that are already trained, because they have to go through the training before they can instruct and all that stuff. I can see where this is going if we did do that. Well, the monies that are tacked on for the insurance and the FICA and all the matches and all that stuff, I know this court is going to turn around and go, well, you need to pay for that out of the commissary, which goes back to we're draining that commissary, because I'm putting more out of that commissary in this general than ever in history, ever. 200,000 plus. I mean, you're gonna drain it. It's gonna go down. It's gonna go down to nothing.
There's roughly $500,000 in there now.
No.
Well, hold on a second.
There's about 400 something thousand in there. Wait just a minute before you get me sidetracked. And we're in the process. We got tagged on with the auditor on how to what's obligated to the inmates, what's obligated as profit, and this, that, and the other. We worked on this Thursday and Friday. We're still in clarifications of what we can spend and what for and why because of auditor restrictions. So I'm not going to comment on that. So don't. And we're right on the total amount.
Right.
The 400.
Yeah.
But 200 of it is going into the general.
But here's the thing, and Jailer, I'm not looking for a fight.
I'm not going to give you one.
But think about this. You're currently covering the cost of these contracts out of the commissary, correct? So even if they were brought on as part-time salary people for the current contract price they have, and the cost associated with that had to be taken out of the commissary to cover all that. I mean, roughly in the neighborhood of anywhere from a low of $15,000 up to $30,000 a year is being spent out of the commissary buying other goods for the inmates that could be used for this necessity rather than these luxuries. So I mean, I don't see how you'd be depleting it if you just shifted the money from one area to the next. I mean, okay.
We're not going to argue about this.
No, I don't want to argue.
I tell you what, that philosophy is no different than me handling the jail and the jail business and you handling the court and ARPA money. There you go. It's no different.
Well,
you got a different view.
Yeah.
I have a different view. We work together. We'll make it work. I just don't know how to make it work. I don't want to get in a spot to where I can't make it work. That's where I'm at. Okay?
Good enough.
All right. But I do want to revisit this
Well,
specialty employee. I don't think that is an unreasonable request at all.
I don't think it's unreasonable at all, Eric, and just send me an email and we'll sit down and try to,
Okay.
well, at least we will try to hash out what we can, okay?
Fair enough. Thank you, Court.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bob, anything emergency management?
It'll be hot this week, be careful.
Yeah. Carter, anything planning and zoning? Uh-oh.
I'll take that as a yes.
Real quick.
Bobby and I have been discussing, we've got 3 projects that have intersected, impacted situations that could be in the county. From time to time, Judge, you and I have had discussions about how Bobby and I both need the ability to reach out to an engineer for a second opinion. All I'm asking is the court to consider this in terms of an impact fee or something. We can talk about it later. But we need to be able to levy this fee like I do in the city through Public Works. It can work very similar. But we've got 3 projects right now that are in the pipeline that are definitely going to impact County Road and intersects with the state road. And I've had to reach out to the state to get help and opinion, and it's starting to get in a situation where the engineers for the developer are questioning why I'm leading it out to the state, whereby if I had an engineer for the county, I could reach out to that individual. Looking out, so that's where I'm standing right now.
Carter, do I understand that when there's a project inside the city limits and there's a question about like how the engineering will work, you have someone you reach out to?
Yes.
But that fee is added to the bill to the person that's making the request?
That's exactly right.
And so your question is, would we be okay with the same thing happening if there's a project happening in the county that you need engineering work looked at, that we assess that fee to that
Yes.
project? I mean, it makes sense to me. If it's your project, you should cover the cost of it.
I think there should be an impact fee put on for so many years for, if we have to do road improvements or anything in that area too, if it's a major project like that. But I don't know how you could do that, but.
Do you have any insight or input you want to share with this?
We can add to what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, gathering information is helpful, so that's, yeah.
Just in the past, there have been some developments done in the county that, like road construction in a subdivision. And Carter and I have looked at it, and we've agreed that, because the county actually has no standards to build these by. And we've agreed that because of the traffic, in some cases, we felt like the city would eventually take them over. We've told the developers to go by those standards that the city has set for their road construction. But we're getting into some situations where I don't think those are enough. We need some professional detail work done. I mean, I can go tell you to put so many inches of dense grade and fabric and so much asphalt, but we're talking about some issues now where they're going to have a couple hundred cars going from county to state. The state's going to have a say on some of it. And we need someone that can have some professional skills.
So Carter, John Doe comes in. They come in and they want to fill out an application for a development plan or whatever they're doing. And you know that you're going to have an engineer take a look at this. When they're filling out the paperwork and paying the fee for all of that, you just add that fee to their documentation at that point.
We would. Basically, how we work with the city is that there's the three areas in terms of the checklist of the city. We've got water, sewer, and, what road improvements need to be done. We have an engineer that looks at these plans, and then they have to pay for those fees before we go. Well, they got to pay for them before we ever get to a final approval through the plan zone on the project. This same checklist could be condensed whereby it would fit the county's need. In other words, the check doesn't come to plan and zoning for the city, obviously it goes to Public Works. The same thing, he would make a check payable to Public Works in that regard in terms of the road. I could see this working, it'd be a condensed list, not so much elaborate as what I use for the city, but it would be a condensed one whereby we would get a second opinion to protect, the county's assets in that regard for the road that's impacted. Things like turning lanes, widening of the road. We have one such road that's east of town that the city came in and was going to take over. The developer's going to be developing that. He's going to bear the expense of making that road wider and putting the curb to one side. But I feel like that if we address this in regard to that road, if we had an impact, we would say, you're going to have to bring this out to cover the traffic. There's a lot of these roads that intersect that you have a breaking line where it goes from county or city to state, city to county, for that matter. We need to be able to have that unique line across there where if it's impacting the county, you need to pay this fee. If it's impacting the city, it's pay this fee. We don't have that ability right now. I'm just thinking down the road, I've already got 3 projects that's going to impact the county road in some way. That now's the time to be discussing this and thinking about the direction. A simple phone call to an engineer and forwarded these development plans to them for feedback. We can take that whole inventory list of the feedback and apply it to the development plan and say, these things need to be answered.
So Counselor, would this simply be if the court wants to give the P and Z administrator the ability to contact, or the public works director, the ability to contact an engineer as part of someone's development plan that they're coming in, and us assess that fee to that developer or whatever on that development plan, is that just simply a vote of the court that
Well, I'm just wondering, do we need, with the city, did y'all have, I'm guessing since we have joint planning and zoning regs, you didn't have to amend the regs to do that with the city, right?
Well, I do it through Public Works.
Okay.
My development plan routine is developed with Public Works. Chris Clyder and I have that built in.
So, but I'm just saying, there's not been a change to planning and zoning regs to do that. Okay.
So this would work the same through our public works?
That's, the answer to your question is yes. I just want to make sure there wasn't something we'd do through planning and zoning.
One other thing you might, a little bit more detail on what he's talking about on the plans. I've already in the past, the city's engineer that comes out there contracted with, I've met with him a time or two where there's been some off of city property where some water issues and things. And those are maybe not as much as what he's talking about when the project's being developed, but after the development's already there. So I kind of would like us to think about too, having some kind of agreement with that engineer, if we want to use the same one, which I think you would, that we can at least have some way to contact for some backup, information and things we do. Sometimes this happens after the development, but during the process maybe.
Right. I mean, you want to follow up. I think you can do that through a action of the fiscal court. You basically have a motion a second and you pass it, you can do that. I was just making sure we didn't have to go through the process of changing planning and zoning regs. But your answer to your question is correct. You just need to figure out what exactly you're...
The motion would be to allow our public works road supervisor, public works director, road supervisor, and planning and zoning administrator. Go ahead.
Would we want to, if we want to use that same engineer, would we need to kind of have that discussion with him up front before we,
It might not be a bad idea. Maybe we table this to the next meeting to allow you all an opportunity to
just
talk.
put some information together on how it would all really work and go together.
And go with him and make sure the engineer's okay with what you're proposing.
And y'all both worked with this guy. You're both good with it.
And then you come back next meeting, we bring it up, and we can take action then if that's okay.
To your point about the infrastructure, though, there are some communities that, it's kind of like Sam says, sometimes you have to do what's right and maybe what's popular, but there are some communities that have that built into every development process, where it might be a small amount for a home, but it's just more sizable amount for development. And that's what that's for, is to offset some of these costs that we're going to have to see. So
Put that money
that's a whole different
in the road fund.
subject, but just to think about, there are communities that do that. So.
All right. Well, y'all talk with the engineer and get all the information. We'll get that figured out. Bill, anything else, Bobby, with road? Bill, anything with maintenance? All right. So I got to get into this drawer, Sam.
Oh Lord, it's gonna be a long meeting.
So I need to have a motion and a second for executive session, KRS 61.810, paragraph C, discussion of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of the public agency, and paragraph F, discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty and a second by Nate. Any question, discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We'll take about a 5-minute recess.